Welcome to the Dog Expert Podcast, the podcast dogs would want you to listen to. Powered by canineprinciples.com, helping passionate dog people go from feeling unsure and overwhelmed to confident, compassionate and science savvy through a rich library of online courses and formal qualifications. Each week on the podcast, we dive deep into the real, raw and rewarding world of dogs. This isn't about obedience. This is about understanding. Because dogs aren't problems to solve. They're free-thinking, sentient beings to connect with. Hello and welcome to this week's episode on season 3 of the Dog Expert Podcast. My name's Jo Middleton. I am the Director of Studies at Canine Principles and the Principal of the International School for Canine Psychology. And I also head up the International Institute for Canine Ethics. This week on the podcast, we have got a fabulous guest. We are being joined by the wonderful Jamie Pound. Jamie is both the founder of UK Sniffer Dogs and also the director of Jamie Pound Dog Training. Jamie became a dog trainer in 2013 after suffering some horrific burns as an electrician back in 2010. He spent 3 years retraining whilst going through rehab for his burn injuries, which completely changed his career path, and he now works with his true passion, which is dogs. In 2020, Jamie actually won Dog Trainer and Behaviourist of the Year in a nationally recognised award for his work with pet dogs and their owners. The most popular classes that he runs are the UK Sniffer Dog classes, and adding scent detection to his schools has been a fantastic extra string to the bow for both the clients and them as a business as well, helping thousands of pet professionals and dog guardians across the UK. Jamie has now trained over 200 other dog trainers in practical instructor courses since 2018, and the work that he does is just truly magical from an enrichment point of view for both the bond between the dog and the guardian, but for the dog to actually use their natural instincts in their day-to-day lives. So let me welcome Jamie onto the podcast.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here today.
Oh, we're excited to host you, Jamie. We met
a couple of months
ago.
Cutting me up when I'm talking about scent work. That's the problem. The problem is cutting me up when I'm talking about scent work. So do just shut me up if needed.
Likewise, I think because we're both so passionate about what we do, this could be a really long podcast. We always try and limit our podcast to about 40 minutes, and I think we've only ever succeeded once.
Challenge.
Yeah, well, I'm normally joined by the wonderful Emily Dustan, who's in New Zealand, and unfortunately with the time differences, Emily couldn't be here today. But every week Emily says, this is my favorite week. So between us, we're very much like you. We could talk till the cows come home. So can you tell anyone who's listening that isn't already aware about you and your story, why you feel so passionately about scent work?
There's so many benefits to it. That is the biggest thing for me. It's not only the dogs, it's the humans as well. So coming from a background of coming into dogs through traumatic experience, really. So I was burnt 45% of my body, and I was limited as to what I could do as a young man. And I became a bit of a recluse, and I just did the same things over and over again. And it's easy to fall out of touch with sort of real life, and going out and meeting people and going to sort of public events became a big thing for me. So we hear the story all the time, but my dad got me a dog, and that was meant to be the kick to give me a purpose, really. Give me that purpose to get up in the mornings. I had someone else that relied on me. but also give me that bit of companionship and confidence. Now, that backfired slightly because the dog in question, my old shepherd Frankie, he was human reactive and dog reactive. So getting out and meeting people with a human reactive and dog reactive dog was quite difficult. What it did do is it challenged me to learn more. I wanted to learn more about this particular dog and why he was doing what he was doing. And I wanted to help him. So I started doing different dog training courses and shadowing at different dog training schools. And I got interested in not only just my dog, the other dogs that I was watching. And a lot of them, the reactivity issues and the confidence issues in these dogs we were seeing really came down to that natural outlet that the dogs had been bred to do had been removed in some way. And there was other behaviors that were coming off the back of it, whether it was frustration setting into these dogs or whether it was fear-based sort of reactivity. And with Frankie, we did detection, we did tracking, we did trailing. Now, our UK Sniffer Dogs, we professionally teach detection and tracking to pet dogs and pet dog trainers alike. And Frankie, I'd say his favourite was, he would engage in any type of nose work, but tracking was his favourite. But detection actually pushed us out to different locations. With tracking, we used to go out, me and him. We didn't tend to see anybody, and it was a great outlet to give him what I'd call a nice green day in his routine for when he was faced with certain red days, let's say, that were a bit more mentally challenging for him. And I started getting into detection, and what I realized with the detection was not only was I now putting him in places that I was wary of putting him before, but his behavior massively changed. He was also quite a heavy resource guarder in the home as well. And on days when we had participated in scent work, whether it was tracking or detection, I started to notice a huge difference in his behavior at home. Just the off type of behavior, as I would call it, not when we're actually training or when we're out with a dog, just being. And he was just generally more content, more satisfied, I would say. So for me, it unlocked this little thing in my brain as to why are we not using this more within behavior work? Why are we concentrating on the issue itself too much? Are we concentrating on fixing it? As dog trainers, we want to train something. And that's always been the thing. Okay, the dog's jumping up. What can we train the dog to do instead? Let's get him to sit. The dog's running off. Okay, let's teach him to come back to you. So the problem is with dog trainers and dog training, we and humans, we want to practically train something. But the big misconception is how using scent work as a routine and activity that the dog can do to practice these natural behaviors that are necessary for their welfare. And dogs, all senses are relevant, to reactivity, hearing, sight, but smell is your dog's number one sense. And if we can start talking to the dogs and engaging with the dogs using that nose, not only are we giving the dog that outlet, we are the one providing these games, meaning we get more engagement, more trust out of these dogs. And without going into it in too much depth as to each dog, because I'm sure we'll go into this, to different types of dog, it benefits them all in some way. And for me, that was what unlocked the social side of having a dog and the positive sides of having a dog, rather than having this problem dog that I needed to fix as such. When actually I just needed to give him things that were not only going to do that he wanted to do, but also be good for his brain. He would chase and bite a toy all day long, and I could play tug with him all day long, but that general tuggy type behavior wouldn't do well for his arousal levels, whereas scent work absolutely was. So it was a different type of dog. He was a great dog in that you could you could turn him on at any point with a toy and his arousal level would be up. So, and in some training, we want that. We want high arousal in some training. But the more everyday today being a pet dog, we want that low arousal, highly stimulating games as well to be feeding into the dogs.
Love that. You said something there that I just think that we should put on some sort of social media graphic or something, like a quote by Jamie Bound. Natural behaviour that is essential for their welfare. That is exactly what sniffing is. And I fostered many rescue dogs, and a lot that come in they're in such a state that they almost don't seem to know how to sniff, and we have to build up to showing them how to use their noses. And then once they've sort of decided that it's safe for them to sniff and they're not going to they're not in that state of learned helplessness anymore, and they're able to have the self-confidence and the focus and be able to emotionally regulate through sniffing, it's just so wonderful to see. And instead of focusing on control, which we see so much as humans wanting to do with dog behavior through training, you're focusing on engaging their brain, calming them, enrichment, as opposed to the more traditional training exercises that you might expect to see. Do you get many people contacting you expecting a more traditional training approach?
So originally, when people contact me from a behavior point of view, it's normally reactivity is number one, whether it's frustration or fear-based. But two, it's going to be prey issues where the dog is, we hear it all the time. I've got a working Cocker Spaniel. He's 6 months old. I've never done any training with him. He's running off after everything. I can't get him back. And we hear this quite a lot. And the problem is, one, people think working lines means clever and easy to train. It means clever, but they learn bad behavior just as quick as they do good behavior. So we have to be on it with them. But
and do you find that they will make up their own mischief because if they haven't got an outlet, a natural outlet, they'll find their own things?
They're going to go self-employed. These working dogs go self-employed. That's exactly what they'll do. And what happens is the environment provides all these games to the dog. And whether we see them as good or bad, the dog is seeing them as good and good fun. So the problem is, some people say to me, well, isn't scent work going to make my dog more sniffy? Going to encourage him to go off after certain scents? Absolutely opposite. It's going to be the absolute opposite. Because you're the one providing the dog these games, he's going to look to you for these games rather than the environment, which has a massive effect on engagement, improves that engagement, which as a byproduct improves your general recall, because if the dog can't engage on you in certain environments, it's not going to listen. So teaching that engagement to start off with. And then from the reactivity point of view, all the time from a one-to-one basis, people will come in and they want to solve this issue. The dog is barking and lunging at, let's just say, trigger. It could be cyclist, dog, runner. And I will go over in the one-to-one session some handling techniques, things that I want them to do. I'm just teaching them to understand why it's happening and how fixation on these triggers can be quite difficult in different situations. So, for instance, moving triggers may be more difficult for the dog to cope with than stationary triggers, or distance, proximity from these triggers. And from that one-to-one, I then look to work with them with a sort of stooge dog, with a dog that I can control. But straight away, I will look to get them into a scent work class, a UK Sniffer Dogs class, way before a general behaviour class. Because your problem we're talking about with this dog here, this reactive dog that's fixated on its triggers, which is other dogs, or fearful of its triggers, which is other dogs. if it's handled correctly and the dog's given the right distance to start off with, we can, through those 6 weeks, we see a huge change in how the dog is coping around the other dogs. And we don't do anything specific to target, okay, let's train him not to look at those other dogs, or let's train him to ignore them. We play the game with the right distance the dog needs. And each week that distance gets better and better. And to the point where I think Saturday morning was made up of it's about 8 dogs in the class, but I think about 5 or 6 of them have got reactivity issues towards other dogs. But they've stuck at it. And these dogs are wearing yellow bandanas, highlighting their need space. But they now, at the end of the class, will walk next to each other and tolerate each other and say little hellos to each other, and actually made doggy friends with other dogs of the same sort of mental state, if you get what I mean. Mm-hmm. So reactivity and recall issues is normally one of the engagement issues, really, is one of the biggest things. And scent work has got to be the best way to engage with your dog, because the dog's main sense is smell. And we're talking to the dogs through scent work. We're talking their language is the best way to put it. And from a owner point of view, and this is why I love it for dog owners, is the body language that we see in the dogs when the dogs are working. And from a reactivity point of view, we want to be able to read, or teach the owners to read the dog's body language in different situations. And in scent work, we are teaching the dog owners to read different bits of body language within the search. And we start to notice different changes in the dog's tail, whether it's their breathing, whether it's their head carriage, whichever, their body movement. And because the owners are in tune in this body language changes in scent work, in searches, they become more alert to it out on walks. So, and in a lot of the searches, my owners, they know their dog is about to find before the dog has found, because of the changes in the dog's body language. And that happens in reactivity cases as well, where the body language changes before the dog reacts. And owners are now picking up on that. So again, we've not naturally targeted, right, I want you to read all the dog's body language cues before he reacts, and made it really serious. We've gone, okay, we just want to give him a bit of space. We're going to give him a game to play around the other dogs. And now suddenly your dog is coping around the other dogs. And the owners are just amazed by it. It's magic. That's the only way I can put it. Really.
It's fantastic, though, because it's done in a more relaxed way with less pressure in a low pressure environment, and it's choice based. It really is positioning threshold, if you like, which I always think is a bit of a weird sort of visual in people's brains as some kind of physical line that dogs are going to cross and be either over it or under it. But when dogs are approaching thresholds, you're able to pick up on those initial sort of telltale signs in the dog as an individual before they get to that point, and opt to take the flight option with the dog to demonstrate to the dog that we're able to see that you're getting to that point where you're going to be over aroused, and so we're going to choose to remove ourselves from this situation, and you can trust me to make those decisions to keep us all safe as the human here. I love that you mentioned breathing. Now, this is something that I see overlooked time and time again, because it's such a subtle thing in the dog's body, whereas something like a bark or a tail upright and stiff, for example, is very easy to see. The breathing of the dog and the breathing of the guardian as well is really important for us to note and to have some kind of baseline normal around, so that we're able to pick up on any changes. What I've been picked up on many a time, and it started where I was first picked up on it when I was doing I did a couple of the 6-day T-Touch practitioner courses at Tilly Farm many years ago, and Marie, lady there, said to me, "You do realise that you haven't actually breathed for ages."
I was about to say, hold your breath. I knew exactly what you were going to say. Yeah.
When I'm concentrating, and I now pick up on that a lot in dog guardians, that because they're so engrossed in what their dog's doing, they've forgotten, like they suddenly go.
It happens in scent work a lot when the owner knows where the scent is and their dog's about to find, they'll just stop breathing and they're like, just carry on, just keep moving as it's normal. Otherwise, the dog's going to start picking up on that as a cue as well. So yeah, absolutely, and I think that happens in reactivity just through people being so tense, and that's the thing though, is relaxing the people, and I see it time and time, not only trainers but dog owners. So in two different angles here. So dog owners, I had a Labrador in the classes the other week. It was week 1 and we've just done week 2. Huge Labrador, and the lady struggles to hold him. So from A to B, she uses a head halter. So to get the dog from A to B, from the car to the class environment. And I said, what we want to do is we want to move on to at least either a flat collar or harness for whilst the dog's searching, because it's going to affect his search. Okay, the dog needs to be able to dictate. But I said, don't worry, I know he's quite bully in between A to B sort of locations, but when he starts to search, it will relax. And so we hit his scent, first one, and she held him by the collar as I hit it, so she had good control, and then she let him work through the search. And he raced in there, but as soon as he started searching, the whole lead relaxed and the body language relaxed. You could see the concentration in this dog's just in his body language. But not only that, he was such a strong dog that when the dog found, the owner rewarded the dog, and we removed the hide. And I said, here, take that with you because you're going to use it for your next search. And she put it in her pocket, and the dog just walked to heel all the way back to the station because she had this scent in her pocket that the dog had just found. And on the next lap, she walked up towards me and normally he was pulling, and she's got it in her hand. And the dog's just walking to heel, like the best heel work we've ever seen out of the dog, because he was expecting this is the cue for that game to start again. And he's paying more focus and engagement. We haven't done nothing to solve the lead walk in there. And there is a bit more work to be done. It's not solved it instantly, but that moment was a huge difference to how he was previously 20 minutes ago. Just by giving him this game, he was giving his owner more engagement, which affected his lead walking.
But that relationship with the guardian, a lot of people will have a dog, absolutely adore their dog, but feel out of depth and at a point of despair and frustration and just really upset because they want the best for their dog. They want to not have their shoulder literally dislocated in some cases when they're walking their dog, and they want to provide the best possible things for their dog, but they're feeling that the relationship isn't there and the dog's maybe too much for them. To be able to give them glimmers of hope like that and show them actually what is possible, it's just completely invaluable, and it's going to tip that relationship on its head. Now, I know that we're not allowed favourites, but I'm sure you must have a couple of success stories or case stories that spring to mind.
There's so many, but a couple of sort of highlights then. So first of all, Nala, who's working with me at the minute, she is a Staffy cross, bull breed type. So the owner, she was a rescue as well. I don't know exactly why, the reason behind it, but at an early age, one of her legs was removed, one of her back legs. So she's had to learn to adapt with 3 legs. And in the scent work classes, she started off doing behaviour and scent with me because the dog was reactive to other dogs. she is one of these dogs in the group now that has made a couple of little friends with some of the other reactive dogs. And that's just beautiful to watch. But the way she searches and the way she enjoys it, in the bond that she's got with her owner, and the owner does behaviour classes and scent classes. She only done the scent classes as a recommendation from me because she has got physical limitations, and 2, she has that reactivity side in her. So it gave the owner this outlet that she can do with the dog without having to let the dog off lead too much. But watching her search is just amazing, and how she copes through that search with those 3 legs it's just brilliant to watch. And then Jessie, who's one of her friends, little Jack Russell, she is dog reactive as well, and again she's made friends within the group. She's come to Crufts last year with us. She demonstrated on the stand at Crufts, and this is just one of my dog owners that comes to weekly classes. She's not a dog trainer, she's a dog enthusiast. She's a Jessie enthusiast, really. But watching her search is amazing. Again, Jack Russells, people don't think about staffies, they don't think about Jack Russells when we talk about scent work, and there's so many breeds out there that can do it and will benefit from it, but aren't thought about. It's not even given a second thought because they're not a working cocker or a Labrador. And I might get killed for saying this, but I used to hate mixed breeds. Yeah. So I used to hate mixed breeds. I think hate is a strong word, but at one point in my area, a puppy class, every puppy was a poodle something mix. And I was a German Shepherd, Rottweiler type man. But now I love the mixed breed dogs, because when you get these 2 mixes of 2 different dogs, the real time you see the breeds in them is when you get them working and when you get them searching, and you start to see the different behavior traits in the dogs in their search. And I find that fascinating now, working with different mixed breeds through scent work, because it really does. It gives you a different view of the dog. And from an injury point of view, so going back to Nala slightly, or other dogs that are experiencing injury, even if they're not experiencing injury, another positive of doing scent work with your dog is you see the true mechanics of your dog. You see the true movements. And if the dog is moving slightly differently, if you're used to watching your dog search in a certain way, and then suddenly their body's moving in a slightly different way, dogs are very good at masking pain. And we can use that as a baseline for not only training, but also physical health. So we can look at our dogs. Okay, he's searching really well today. Well, hold on a minute. What's he doing with his back leg? He doesn't really normally do that. And then you check it out, and there may be a physical issue, underlying issue. Because dogs are so good at masking that. Yeah. But also what you were saying about a training point of view, being able to adapt. A lot of trainers will say, okay, if he's not taking food in this environment, then it might be a bit too stimulating, or it may be too far to that threshold or over. But again, sniffing. If the dog can't sniff in that environment, then again, we know the dog may be struggling with that type of location. But what I've seen is dogs that are struggling with the location or the environment, let's just call it, in that particular training session, and instead of just changing, and saying let's move to a different location, let's just change activity a minute. Let's see if we can get him sniffing instead of lead walking. Let's see if we can do a couple of little searches with him on this log. And normally what we see in the dog is they're a little bit environmentally focused, but they'll engage in a little bit of scent, and then they'll be a little bit environmentally focused, but the body language starts to relax. And we liken scent work to mindfulness. We're giving them something. It's like breath work. We're giving them that time just to, this place is a little bit overwhelming. Let's just have a deep breath and have a chill minute. Let's just have a little sniff. Let's just have a little sniff game. You see the dog cope better with that environment straight away. And we're talking all within sort of one session. It's not like, oh, we'll see how he does next week. Like it all happens really, really quickly. If we can get that dog sniffing.
Absolutely. So dogs have got sort of 220 million-ish scent receptors. Some bloodhounds and some of the more floppy-eared breeds that have got the ears that flop to waft the scents up the noses, up to 300 million scent receptors. A human's got 5 to 6 million. It's just absolutely crazy. So they'll be able to smell maybe for about a 3-mile radius around where they are at any one point. And then as humans, we might question why they're not listening to us, why they're not coming back that day, or why they're behaving in a certain way that they haven't done before, or that we think they're being stubborn or naughty. Well, they might know about a deceased fox 2 miles away, or about a bitch in season in the next village. They know so much more, but they can't communicate with us in the language that we speak. So we have to respect and have that respect for them. It's incredible. And I feel that maybe as humans, I'm generalizing massively, but we act in an entitled way to have our dogs behave and be controlled by the outcomes that we desire. Now, for me, safety is obviously first, but then I want to observe and I want to watch what my dogs are doing and be completely immersed in geeking out on their bodies and how they're behaving. And one of the areas that I feel really strongly about and that I do focus a lot on is cognitive-led rehabilitation, and scent work is a massive part of that. You mentioned amputation and the dog that had a leg amputated. For people listening that aren't aware, when a human has had a limb amputated, over 50% of amputees report that they can still feel pain in the limb that was amputated. It's called phantom limb pain. So the brain still sort of holds on to the limb being there, and nerve damage or just miscommunication with the pain signals to the brain. Even without the physical limb being there, the brain still associates pain with that limb. So one of the things that I find with cognitive-led rehabilitation, where the scent work side of things comes in, is that we're giving the brain a refocus so it's able to concentrate on something that's completely immersive and fun and enjoyable as an emotional regulator, and distract from anything that could be impacting behavior, like a pain that isn't actually there, but to the brain it's very real. So to be able to offer the dog natural outlets like this is just on so many different levels beneficial for not just the dog but the guardian as well, to be able to see that, okay, the dog has behaved in that way, but is it actually because it's in pain and we don't know? Is it because it didn't have enough sleep last night? Is it because it's got tummy ache today? Or is it because there is that dead fox 2 miles away? And to be able to have that bond with it, where actually we're going to do some scent work and this is fun and we're going to do it together. It's something for us to do as a team that we both enjoy and we both relax and breathe through. It's just an absolutely invaluable tool to have in your toolbox.
It really is. And just a short highlight on certain behavior issues that we can use scent work to benefit. Yeah, it's going to benefit, engagement, like I was talking about. But we had, so one dog pulls the owner like a steam train out of the house, and the owner can't get focus until they're a good 200 yards down the street. That initial moment of leaving the house, the dog is just up there and highly, highly aroused. And we implemented searches. And what we did was this particular house. They had a driveway, front door, and they used to go out the front door, walk past their car, and go off towards the woods. And what we implemented on the first one-to-one was I did some vehicle searches with the dog, and we went out onto the driveway and we did some vehicle searches. But initially, the dog, as soon as we got onto the driveway, was at that moment where he couldn't sniff, he couldn't take food, so there was no engagement. So we used a couple of props and just used these little pots in the house where he would focus. And then those pots became a cue to the game happening. So we took those pots to the driveway, and this again was all in one session. We took, after a couple of goes in the living room, we moved it to the front door. Then a couple of goes by the front door, we moved it to the driveway. And then we hid it around the back of the car. So the dog was going out, finding these little pots and then coming back in. And all I asked the owners to do was to randomly, throughout the week, go out and do 3 minutes of a vehicle search. Now, a week later, the dog walks out onto that driveway and is engaging on the owner in anticipation. Are we doing a vehicle search today, Mum? Or are we going for the walk? Which one is it we're doing? And it doesn't matter then, because actually we've got the engagement. That was all it was missing. The dog would listen and would walk well on the lead when he was engaged. It was the engagement that was missing. So again, it's engagement, but it was fixing a particular issue of the dog racing out. And there was another. Oh yeah, the muzzle. So associations. Okay, dogs. We know dogs that learn for association. So they'll associate you going into a particular cupboard, and they know that's where the treats are. So the dog gets excited. The lead means walks. Well, dog gets excited. Muzzle. Okay, we want muzzle to mean a good thing. And everybody's like, oh. And straight away, when we're training a muzzle, people go all weird and they start presenting it to the dog in a weird way. And the dog's like, well, what are you doing, mate? Mm. So with the muzzle training that I did with Enzo, this was XL Bully, and this was just before the ban had come in, but we knew it was coming, so we were preparing for it. We knew he wasn't going to be able to go on lead, so I wanted the owners to do lots of scent work with him, and we chose detection as the game for him because it's so easy to set up in different locations for him, and he was brilliant at it. And within 3 sessions, we 3 1-hour sessions, we had him. Session 1, we taught him a scent work game on some pipes to indicate in the pipe that had the scent on it. The second session, I brought the muzzle in, and I didn't even present it to the dog. I just put it in the pipe with the scent. So we already had a positive association to the scent. Mm. So the dog had to search down the pipes, and to indicate on the scent, he had to put his nose in the muzzle. And so we trained the indication into a muzzle. And then what I did was just move the scent around, but with the muzzle. So every time the dog found his predictable scent already, the muzzle was present, and he had to put his nose in it to actually show us where it was. And then the third session, we had him wearing the muzzle while searching, rewarding him, and he was indicating and wearing it. And so for that dog, when the muzzle came out, he thought search game, sniff game. And it was a best response I've seen with not only training the muzzle, but also the dog's reception to it. At not one point did he ever really try and get it off, which we see quite a lot of dogs trying to get it off at times, because he'd learnt to sniff wearing it. And what I find is, we get the dog used to having it put on, but when we walk the dog with the muzzle on, they're not used to putting their nose down and trying to sniff a lamppost wearing this muzzle. But if you've taught them to search in it, that's really what the dog wants to do, is go out on its walk and sniff. Then the dog's got no reason to want to get it off. So I think the muzzle training was brilliant with that. But there's so many things, like we said, that the dogs will benefit from doing it. And you never know where you'll use it one day with your dogs. And I'm all about the dog. I'm all about the dog. There's great things that people can do using scent, like we'll have medical alert dogs, we'll have jobs, operational jobs for these dogs, and they're great at it, and I respect the jobs they do. But I am all about the dog getting these outlets through games with their owners, because I see the benefit in it daily with pet dog owners. And it turns these pain in the arse dogs into, wow, these amazing dogs that can actually find something straight away. As soon as your mindset of an owner shifts to this dog that just kicks off at everything, it's driving me nuts. This dog is amazing. He can find this teeny weeny little thing in the woods. Suddenly you've forgotten about and the bad stuff just disappears. There's so much benefit to it. It's mental.
I can't remember. But it was something like a dog can sniff a drop of sweat in a test tube in a swimming pool or something. It was some crazy.
There's a few different analogies. You've got the half a teaspoon of sugar in an Olympic-sized swimming pool, and like some people say, can you smell whether there's sugar in your tea? And some people can smell that. But if you smell half a teaspoon of sugar in an Olympic-sized swimming pool,
wow.
And yeah, there's so many other little analogies which make you think about it. The London to New York one is the one I like. So if you compare, because humans are very sight orientated, so it's a good analogy for humans to relate to it. So if you compare our sight to the dog's scent, what you can see at a third of a mile, the dog would be able to see 3,000 miles away. So that's like London to New York. So in comparison to what you can see a third of a mile away, the dog could sniff or could see 3,000 miles away. That's how much powerful it is, or more powerful it is than ours. But yeah, it's endless. But I think it's criminal if you don't exercise your dog's nose. So you should absolutely look at doing it if you've got a dog.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what you're doing, so a lot of people will associate sniffer dogs, scent work with the bloodhound types, with the sort of dogs that maybe you might see sniffing out drugs at the airport, or maybe a medical detection dog type that is able to pick up on a smell that's released before a body goes into seizure, for example, or cancer through they can detect cancer through the change in the urine smell, or even diabetes as well. They can smell the changes in the blood sugar level. That's why it blows my mind how we as humans feel that we're entitled to control a dog's behavior to such a degree using force and coercion, when actually these dogs are so incredible, and a lot of the time they're just trying to communicate their needs with us or something about the environment. But what you're doing is making that natural thing that they have inbuilt in them something that someone with no dog behavior training, no past in geeking out on lots of dog books and watching every webinar going and all that kind of stuff, you're making it completely accessible to someone with a Chihuahua or someone with a Great Dane. It doesn't matter what sort of dog they've got, what sort of history that person has. You're focusing completely on making sure that it's accessible and it's something that you can do no matter what behavioural challenge you're being faced with, what breed of dog you've got, and what your experience is. And it's something that they can have fun with as well. So it's just incredible.
Absolutely. Any dog can do it. We've got Chihuahuas, we've got Boxers that have all been great searchers, great indicators, as well as your Labradors, your Spaniels, your German Shepherds. And again, the mixed breeds we're getting at the minute, I've never found them so fascinating until I start seeing these different breeds come out of them when they're searching. It's just great fun, and it never gets boring. Every search is slightly different. Every experience is slightly different for the dog and the owner, but it's a predictable game for the dog. And if dogs can predict what's going to happen in their environment, they are generally better behaved, let's say, which is what we all want. We want that well-behaved dog, but we also want that content, happy dog. Content and happy dog, and a happy, content dog is a good dog. So it comes back to the working dogs. Yeah, we train specific behaviors and we use it, but these working dogs are generally well behaved because they're getting to play the best job in the world, which is what they were bred to do. And if we can all tap into that and look to what our dog's strengths are and what they like to do and do that, you're going to have better connections and a better behaved dog.
Mm. Now, I'm bilingual. I was brought up French, English, and it makes me very happy to see, although you're UK Sniffer Dogs, on your website, you've got a wonderful link there for 12 free scent exercises, but you've also got 12 12 jeux de détection à jouer avec votre chien. So you've got it translated into French as well, which is
We
fabulous.
do, with the help of a friend. It's me, but Pierre is the voice, and he does very well to sound like me. But our 12 free scent games are basically there for pet dog owners to get started in activating that dog's nose. And there's no sort of order to them. Like there might be some exercises that suit your dog or the location you chose to do it, and there may be some that don't. But they can all be done with food or toys, and they can be set up within and done within about 3 minutes. So it's that short period of training, which really does have the benefit. I mean, we haven't really touched on rescue dogs, but my sister rescued a dog recently, and the first week I gave her access to my online videos, and I wanted her to just pick some of those exercises and do. And I said, I'll tell you what, film every single one and send it over to me. So a week's worth of footage came over, and it was 35 minutes. That was 5 minutes a day. And that was all she had to do for Rocco. He's a Staffy cross rescued, and he'd come after just having an operation that he'd had in the Dog's Trust. And it was important for not only my sister to build the bond, him to build trust, but also to give him the right stimulation in this new environment. And believe it or not, they're rocking it. He's found his forever home, and they absolutely love this dog, and they're taking him all different places, which they couldn't do with their shepherd before.
Rocky's rocking it.
Yeah, absolutely loving it. He's rocking it. So it benefits so many things.
Oh, it really does. And those 12 free exercises for anyone listening, if you head over to uksnifferdogs.com, you'll see up the top there, it says 12 free exercises, or if you want the direct URL, it's uksnifferdogs.com/12-free-exercises. And it's a number 1, 2, rather than the word 12. And when people are doing this, what I really love is that they're able to actually watch their dog. And if they think the dog is getting over aroused, or if they're picking up on something like the increase in breath rate or body stiffening or something like that, they just pause and try again another time. It's not about a sort of, we have to get to this point by this date or anything like that. It's just an individual approach to the individual dog.
Every dog is different, and the progression rates are different. And just because your dog doesn't excel at one particular search quite quickly, it doesn't mean he will at another. And equally the other way around, just because he does well at one search doesn't mean he's gonna do so well on another. And we've got to teach that, and we've got to embrace that, and see it as a game, not necessarily a goal. Yeah, enjoy the journey, enjoy playing it along the way. Don't worry about that end result. I want my dog to be able to find this and do this indication in particular. Just play with it, and it will come. You're always going up and down in dog training, and it's the same in scent work. We want to make it harder, but we also sometimes want to make it easier, because we play around with motivation. The dogs are so clever, and I say this in behaviour training, if you always make it harder for the dog will start to work that out and be like, I'm off, mate. You're going to make it too hard. And these cookies are going to stop coming so easily. So I'm off. I'll come back when it's easier. But if you give them an easy win every now and then, you've got them back on. So the same with search-wise. We'll give them some easy finds sometimes. But also embracing the search and enjoy the search. And look, this is one of the biggest things I teach in my classes at the minute is actually enjoying the search, not the moment the dog finds. Because when you're first doing scent work, you're always worried about the find. I want my dog to find. I want my dog to find. The more you get into it, it's actually the search you enjoy more. And we'll do searches when we don't even place anything out with our dogs sometimes.
Yeah,
and they have a search and they think there might be something there, but there might not. And if you train that in the right way, you've got a dog that just enjoys the search. And and also enjoys the finds, which actually makes that better dog, because some dogs that are too frantic about the find may make mistakes within the search. So it helps to just balance it out. So yeah, I find it so fascinating, and I hope more people do and see what the powers their dog has, which we take for granted.
Yeah, we really do. Oh, well, thank you so much for joining us this week, Jamie. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on. Maybe we could have you back in the future and we could talk for another day or 5, because
yeah, why not?
We've only scratched the surface.
I know. No, it's been a pleasure, absolute pleasure.
Super. Thanks so much, Jamie.
Take care.
So that brings us to the end of season 3. It's an absolute joy to have been joined by Jamie this week. We're looking forward to season 4, where Emily and I have got some incredible guests lined up to come and share their knowledge about things that they feel passionately about in the dog world. Have a wonderful week, everyone, and we will see you in season 4. Thank you for listening to the Dog Expert podcast, the podcast dogs would want you to listen to. If you've enjoyed this episode, do come and let us know in our free Facebook group for dog lovers everywhere, Ethical Dog Training with Canine Principles. That way we can make more content like this that you'll love. We would love for you to leave a review on here and hit subscribe so that you never miss an episode.